I'm Emma Green and I'm going to talk about posture as it relates to tennis elbow, which is something that people don't often think about, but posture is super important. And part of the reason for this is we spend so much time like this, whether we're looking at our phones, typing on the keyboard, sitting in our cars, chopping vegetables, tying our shoes. So much time is spent here. And when we're in this position, we often then have to lift our head up to see what's going on. And that cranks on our neck and it pulls our shoulders forwards. And we don't often think, how does that then affect my elbow? When your head is in that forward position, that sort of forward protracted position, what that's doing is it's closing down the little holes in the neck that the nerves come out of. And if we're closing those holes down, then the nerves don't have as much room to maneuver, they don't have as much space, and that can cause nerve impingement, it can cause nerve issues. Now, that in itself, that can give you elbow pain, but often when you've got tennis elbow, it affects that tendon on the outside of the elbow. The nerve is right next to it. If you've ever bumped your funny bone, you know exactly where that nerve is. And often what we see is when somebody has a tendon problem, a chronic tendon problem that's gone on for longer than 3 months, the nerve that is closest to it is often affected in some way as well. And it's not just at the elbow we see this. People who have sciatica, so it affects the nerve at the back of their thigh, and Achilles tendon problems or hamstring tendon problems, they seem to go together as well. So often the nerve is involved, and then if we're cranking on our neck, that's going to really not allow those nerves to heal. If we're then pulling our shoulders forwards, we're in that sort of rounded shoulder position. That's closing down the shoulder joint. It's putting a lot of pressure on the upper traps. They're super tight because they're trying to keep your head from falling forwards. So then we get a chronic tightness in these muscles that can then impinge on the nerve even more. That all has a knock-on effect down the arm. So that's particularly how posture can affect our elbow. But then we also have to consider the activities that we do. Sitting at a keyboard for 8 hours a day, as often or a lot of people do. Sitting in a car, slumping on the couch. All of these things are going to have knock-on effects as well. So certainly when you are sitting at your keyboard, we want to make sure you have a wrist rest. I have a gel one that I rest my arms on. And it's funny, I was talking to a patient the other day, I don't put my wrists on the wrist rest. I actually rest my forearms on the wrist rest so that I can then type on the keyboard. And it's not so much a positional thing, it's the weight of my arm is being taken by the wrist rest so that I can type and not be holding my arm up, because that's again gonna increase the tension in the upper traps, causing those sort of chronic issues. Chronic tension of the upper traps causes a lot of problems. So having the wrist rest, or the, I was going to say arm rest, but then that would be confusing because arm rests on the chair. The wrist rest, you're going to rest your arms on. And then also, even when you're using the mouse, having one of those little mouse pads with the integrated wrist rest so that I can rest my arm on it too and use the mouse. So the weight of my arm is being taken by the mouse pad or the wrist rest, and I'm not having to hold my arm up and increase the tension in these muscles, increase the tension in these muscles, and then that leads to more problems. So the best position that we want you to be in, if you think about, if you're looking sideways, earlobe, shoulder, hips, nice straight line. We want to try and have that position when we're standing, when we're sitting. If you have your monitor up, laptops keep me in business because we're just like down here, constantly looking down. So if you do have a laptop, raise your laptop up and then have a separate keyboard. And then you can be in that lovely straight line position. Think earlobe, shoulder, hips, nice straight line. Earlobe, shoulder, hips, nice straight line. Soon as we start doing this, more and more pressure is going on the spine, more and more pressure going through the muscles, and it can lead to those chronic problems. Little bit of a whistle-stop tour there. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, please pop them below. I'm also going to put a couple of links to the wrist rest and the mouse pad rest that I use down below. So if you want to check those out, you can. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.